AI agents. You're hearing that term absolutely everywhere, right? It's promising to change, well, everything. How we work, how we create, maybe even how we think. But what are they, really? How do we cut through all the sci-fi noise to see what's actually happening right now? Let's dig in and trace the journey from this huge abstract idea to a tool that might be on your desktop sooner than you think.
To really get a handle on AI agents, we kind of have to zoom out, way out. This image here shows what the researcher Frank Nielsen calls a spiral of thoughts. And it's a fantastic way to see how giant ideas, like computing itself, don't just pop into existence. They evolve, they spiral, they build on each other over centuries. Nielsen even argues that our drive to compute is like a fundamental principled law of nature. So if you think about it that way, AI agents aren't some sudden shock to the system, they're the next logical turn in this massive unfolding spiral.
So here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to start by pinning down what an AI agent even is. Then we'll slice right through the hype to see what's real today. We'll look at a super concrete example in software development, tackle that huge question about our jobs, and then wrap up with how we can steer this thing responsibly.
Okay, let's get right to it. If you're in the tech world at all, you can't escape the term AI agent. It's being called the big innovation for 2025. So what's really going on behind that buzzword?
Let's start with a solid definition from IBM. An AI agent is a program that can act autonomously. That's the magic word right there. See, with a chatbot, you have to feed it step-by-step instructions. With an agent, you give it a high-level goal, like, hey, plan a whole marketing campaign for this new product. And the agent is supposed to figure out the how all by itself.
But okay, let's bring that grand vision back down to earth for a second. As Dr. Maria Mashuri points out, what we're actually seeing on the market right now is a bit more basic. We're taking these big, large language models and giving them a couple of new tricks, some simple planning abilities, and, this is the important part, the power to call tools. That just means they can reach out and use other software, like your calendar, a calculator, or a web browser, to actually get stuff done.
And that gap between the huge vision and what we have today brings us to the real heart of the matter. The hype versus the reality. The headlines are frankly wild, but inside the tech industry, there's a really interesting debate happening about what we can actually expect and when. First off, why is there so much hype to begin with? Well, look at this number. A recent IBM and Morning Consult survey found that 99%, that's basically everyone, 99% of enterprise developers are already playing with or actively building AI agents. This is not some fringe experiment. It is a full-blown stampede across the entire industry.
But hold on, not everyone is convinced this is some brand new paradigm. Here's a great skeptical take from IBM's Marina Danielewski. She's basically asking, isn't this just a rebrand of an old idea called orchestration, which for years has just been about making different software services talk to each other to complete a task? So the question is, are we just slapping a cool new name on something developers have been doing for a long time?
On the complete other side of that debate, you have people like Chris Hay. He's all in. He's quick to admit the whole ecosystem is nascent. It's brand new, it's still taking its first steps. But he says the wave is coming, and it's unstoppable. The sheer amount of money and brain power being thrown at this from every tech company on the planet suggests we are right on the edge of something huge.
Okay, so to get past the he said, she said, let's look at where the rubber is actually meeting the road. To see the real impact, we can zoom in on a super complex field that's already being changed by these tools, software engineering.
Just look at this. AI is getting woven into every single stage of building software. It's not just one thing, it's everywhere. Right from the beginning, you have tools that can listen to a meeting and automatically spit out a list of project requirements. Then in the middle, you have things like GitHub Copilot writing huge chunks of code for you. It's touching every single part of the process.
And we're not talking about small improvements here. This isn't theoretical. It is measured and it is massive. This chart comes from a study on GitHub Copilot. It found that developers using the tool finished their tasks 55.8% faster. That's not just a little boost. That's a revolutionary leap in productivity that is making the entire industry rethink how we build things.
So when you see productivity gains that big, you immediately have to ask the question, what does this mean for people's jobs? And that brings us to maybe the most important conversation of all. Are these agents going to be our partners? Are they going to be our replacements?
This slide just lays out the two possible futures perfectly. The goal, the dream, is that AI augments us. It takes over the boring, tedious stuff and frees us up to be more strategic, more creative. But there's a real risk of the opposite happening.
a future where we humans end up just augmenting the AI, becoming cogs in a giant machine, basically just fixing the stuff the AI can't figure out.
So getting that balance right is everything. This quote from Marina Daniilewski hits the nail on the head. It describes what we call the human-in-the-loop model. The AI is your incredibly powerful assistant. It does the heavy lifting, it crunches the data, but the human, you, are always in the driver's seat, making the final critical call. So how do we make sure we actually build that better future, and not the risky one? Well, it turns out the fanciest tech in the world is useless without a smart strategy and some serious guardrails around it.
When you listen to all the experts, their advice really boils down to two fundamental things. First, you absolutely have to have strong AI governance. That's just non-negotiable for using this stuff responsibly. And second, any AI strategy has to be totally focused on creating real-world economic value. Tech for the sake of tech is a dead end.
And this quote from Vyoma Gajar is such a great way to think about what governance actually means. Because let's be honest, things are going to go wrong sometimes. The AI will mess up. That's why building safety nets, like being able to roll back an agent's actions or having a clear audit trail of what it did, isn't just a nice feature. It's absolutely essential if we're ever going to trust these systems.
So as we stand here looking at this new wave of technology, the real question isn't if AI agents are going to change our work. That's a given. The question is, how are we going to guide them? The future of work isn't just something that's going to happen to us. It's something we all get to build together.